So we have about 20 attendees. While we're waiting for others to join, I wanted to just kind of go over what we're going to do here. First of all, happy Enrolled Agent Month. I am Dr. Lily Davidoff, and as I said, and I'm a faculty chair for accounting here at Rio Salada. I'm very excited to greet and meet you here in this space for about an hour, where we're going to talk about a very, very novel profession that is called enrolled agent and what they really do. And this for the entire month, we're kind of going to take a big tour into that career, into that industry, and see what they're doing and how they're doing it, and what are the exciting things that they're doing and learning while they're doing it. So before we start, I want to go over a quick review of Rio Salado Maricopa Community College Enrolled Agent Certificate and Exam Preparation Program. If you're interested to get the flyer, let me know. My information is on the Eventbrite. Email me, I'll email you this flyer. But before we go in, I just wanted to say that this program, the way we developed it in most Maricopa community colleges, but specifically at Rio Salado, I wanted to say that there's 3 core classes in this program: accounting 121, accounting 221, accounting 224, that actually prepare you for special enrolled agent exam. The software that we're using the exam preparation software we're using is from Glide. And then I just wanted to tell you that accounting 121 is individual taxation. And you basically take this class, and there is some preparation questions and things like that you're going to learn from this book, along with the software that Gline is providing, and then they really coaching you on that part of the exam. The second class is accounting 221. It's tax accounting, basically talking about corporate accounting, and this is the second book. It's a little bit thicker than the first book, but probably just as thick, maybe a little bit. So, and then you're taking that part again along with software, and then during that class we prepare you. You can sit for the second part of the exam. And the last one is representation practice and procedures. This is accounting 224, tax practices and administration, business entry analysis. This is that where you can represent the client in front of IRS, and that's the third part of the exam. So those are the 3 core classes that prepare you to sit for the special enrolled agent exam. But the entire certificate is actually about 15 to 18 credits. And then the classes are outlined here. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know about the program. And then let me stop sharing, and I'll tell you what's going to happen in the next 4 weeks, because this is exciting, right? So in the next 4 weeks, what we're going to do is every Wednesday for an hour, we'll get together and we'll talk about enrolled agents. So today we're going to hear from a very exciting 3 speakers that we have on really what enrolled agents are doing, and what is it profession is really about. So that's what we're going to do today. Next week, I invited Justin from Gline, actually talking about the software, the tips that he will provide for you. How do you prepare for exam? How do you take exam? And also give you the enrolled agent exam and Gline software overview. So that's what we're going to do for now. I'll be here. You can ask me questions at the end. And then the 17th, we decided to do, and then this is, we planned this together, and Aaron has been very instrumental in this planning. We wanted somebody from National Association of Enrolled Agents to come in and tell you a little bit more about the profession, what they do, the wide varieties of topics that are available for you to continue your study when you become enrolled agent, including the National Tax Practice Institute, what they do. So it'll be very, very interesting on the 17th. And on the 24th, Lance, who is here with us today, but he's going to kind of conclude this whole journey and is going to take us on a different career path and an enrolled agent I guess city. It's enrolled agent city, right? Or is it a country? Or maybe it's a different planet. I don't, we'll get to see in a minute, right? What do they really do? What are the different career paths? Amazingly, it's not just accounting, and there is a lot more to it. So that's what we're going to do the entire month. I am very excited. And then I know a lot of you are excited because I got many, many emails from all of you, many of you saying that you're excited. But one question that everybody had in common: what about the gift cards? Because on the invitation, you probably see there's an opportunity to gain a gift card. So with that, I am going to introduce our Director of Development Scholarship and Alumni Relationship, Dr. Todd Akas, and he is going to explain you what are the gift cards for, how to earn them, and talk a little bit about our alumni association, because they have been very, very supportive, and especially Dr. Akas has been very, very supportive of our program and what we do here. Dr. Akas, take it away.
Thank you, Lily. Wow, first of all, it's great to be here with all of you. I see some of my peers online here and all the participants. Thanks for coming out. It's always really great for us to see you guys are students now, but you're going to be alumni in the future. And we're looking forward to that time when you come and join the college and think about us all of the time for your educational needs. But it's really exciting to be part of this program. I got involved with Lily and I work on quite a few programs together, but I will tell you, there's something very cool about this program that I learned because I sat in on National Accounting Day. The program is very in demand, like in chambers of commerce for small businesses and stuff. They want the tax accountants, and it's a great area to be involved with. And the new movement towards micro credentials, Lily might talk about eventually in this program, but you get like a micro credential with this enrolled agent, which is very valuable. It's extremely portable and it's stackable, and it's going to pay in the long run. These are good jobs. I'm telling you, they're good jobs. So we're really happy to be mixing with this group. And yes, we do have a little extra something there from the Alumni Association has underwritten the expense for some gift cards. So we're going to have a drawing at the end of the session. Those that attend all 4 sessions will be eligible for a drawing for a gift card, an undisclosed amount, but we'll do a drawing at the end, and you'll need to be a current student with a valid Maricopa email address and a student identification. Those are the 3 criteria to win. You'll be put in an eligibility tank, and I think Lily might ask the president to do the drawing at one of our big meetings. I'm not sure if that will happen, but we have all these all college meetings, so we'll probably make a big deal about it one way or another. So welcome everybody. Keep us in mind, the Alumni Association. We're here for lots of opportunities and resources for you, scholarships. Otherwise, I help in that area. Please contact me if there's any possible way I can help you. And congratulations for being connected with this program, because it looks like a sweet opportunity. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Akas. Again, our email addresses are very easy. It's our first name, last name at riosalado.edu. If you have any questions, please email us. I just want to reiterate what Dr. Akas was saying, that you're going to have to join all 4 sessions. And then in order to do that, put your email address and name and email address in the Q&A. So this way we can track the attendance. So we're going to move on to the main portion of this session. But before we do that, I just wanted to tell you that I will be monitoring Q&A session. So if you click on that, you can actually ask me a question or ask a question from any of the panelists that we have today, and then I'll be asking them questions at the end. We'll leave about 10 minutes and 15 minutes on Q&A portion. We will be done at 5 o'clock. So here, let me introduce you to our speakers today. First, I want to introduce Aaron Block. He is a president of Block Company. He is a CPA, enrolled agent, and fellow of National Tax Practice Institute. Aaron and I go way back. I think it was about 10 years ago when I was teaching accounting class. I invited Aaron to speak in my class, and it was a very, very small class, and only 1 student show up. So Aaron today we have 22. So yay! So we're moving up in the world a little bit. So Aaron is a 2nd generation accountant. He's following his father's footsteps. He's graduated from ASU. He completed numerous professional certificates and is part of several professional organizations specifically to accounting. He's enjoying giving back to the community he grew up with. That's why he's always participating in things like that. We really, really appreciate your time, Aaron, and expertise. And I personally appreciate how you coaching me on where we want our students to be in this profession. So welcome, Aaron. Second, we have Catherine. And then Catherine is a managing partner of Cat and Bot Enterprise LLC that located in Buckeye, Arizona. Catherine had owned and operated an accounting and tax practice since 1992. She started when she was 2 years old. Her accounting practices offer service bookkeeping, accounting, and tax preparation. She's also sits on all these interesting boards. So I'm going to say some of them, but maybe in there, Catherine, you can tell us a little bit about them. So she is a part of IRS Information Reporting Program Advisory Committee. She serves there as a chair. She also serves as an Arizona State representative on taxpayer advocacy panel. She also serves on the Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council on the Wage and Investment Subcommittee. She has also been a volunteer for 32 years and an instructor for IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, which is WIDER program, and a tax counselor for Eldering. I hope I'm saying this right. She's also a member of National Association of Enrolled Agents, and you remember we're going to hear from them on the 17th. She's the secretary of the board of directors for local chapter of Enrolled Agent, Phoenix West chapter of Enrolled Agent, and a vice president on the board of Arizona Society in Enrolled Agent. Yay, welcome, Catherine. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, we got Jack, who is, after 14 years of working for IRS and audit and taxpayer services, Jack became an enrolled agent. See, guys, we're 14 years ahead. Yay, we can do that. That's great. And then I appreciate, Jack, that you coming and sharing your experience with us. I mean, this is what I usually do. I'm like, I don't want the people wait as long as I waited. I want to tell them about now. Then after he became an enrolled agent, he is now worked for 15 years in a tax law firm in Providence, do I say that right? Which is focused on tax representation. In 1999, Jack located to Prescott, Arizona, and opened Tax Strategy Southwestern when he held a client resolved tax disputes and unmanageable tax debt issues. Wow, interesting. Also, Jack serves as a state director, vice president, and president of Arizona Society of Enrolled Agent. Jack serves for 2 years term on the board of director of a National Association on Enrolled Agent and developed numerous seminars to tax practitioners in Arizona, Nevada. And he's previously served as secretary and president of Arizona Forum for Improvement of Taxation and currently director of AFIT board. So welcome, guys, and take it away.
Hey everybody, again, my name is Aaron Blau. I've been working with Lily on this program, and I'm very pleased to also have my other colleagues as part of this event today. When we put together the timeline for this series of events, it was sort of like, you know, what is it? How do you get to be it? What resources are out there? So here, we're really going to be, for this next 45 minutes or so, we're really going to be talking about what is an enrolled agent and what does an enrolled agent do. I want to give you a quick little bit of history about the credential and give you a little bit of frame of reference as to what enrolled agents do versus other folks. And then we're going to talk about the big three activities. Enrolled agents do CPR on people's taxes. They do collection work, preparation work, and representation work. And that is what Catherine and Jack and I represent. I'm going to talk a little bit about the representation side. Jack is going to talk about collections, and Catherine's going to talk about preparation. But first, the history lesson about enrolled agents and where they come from. Enrolled agents actually have their history that goes back to the Civil War. So after the Civil War, what happened was all throughout the South, as the Northern Army was coming through the South, they did things like take people's horses and burn people's barns down. And all these people in the South had a claim, a monetary claim against the US government for damage done to their property. So the US Congress passed something called the Horse Act. And what that did was empower individual citizens to become licensed to represent other citizens in their claims. So these were not attorneys, but these were individuals who actually had a specific right to represent somebody in their claim, basically to say how many horses and and get that proof together. So they're not acting as an attorney, acting as attorney in law, but they're an attorney in fact. So the concept of an enrolled agent has been around for a lot of years. However, post-Civil War, we actually didn't have an income tax in the United States. It was all excise taxes related to things like tobacco and alcohol and other activities. We didn't have an income tax until much later. As the Department of the Treasury developed itself, it also realized that it needed to rely on not just CPAs and attorneys to represent taxpayers, but also opened up to what's called other individuals who can pass certain competency exams. And that is what an enrolled agent is. The enrolled agent, with due respect to Todd, is not what we would consider to be a micro-credential at all. It is a really significant credential that has that grants and bestows the same rights and responsibilities as CPAs or attorneys when related to representing taxpayers before the IRS. This is not a license to prepare tax returns. This is a license to stand in a taxpayer's shoes and act as the taxpayer when dealing with the IRS in audit, collection, or other matters. Basically, any issue in which there may be an adversarial relationship. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit more as we go on. In relation to the CPA credential, it's very important to understand sort of where the enrolled agent world starts and stops, and the CPA credential may pick up. Again, an EA has all the same rights and responsibilities as CPAs or attorneys in representation work. Enrolled agents are focused on taxation work, whereas the license of a CPA is much more focused in the accounting world, issuing financial statements, signing off on financial statement audits. So usually when explaining it, I say an enrolled agent is to taxation, what a CPA is to accounting services. You know, some other people may say, well, a CPA may be more like a doctor, whereas an EA is more like a nurse practitioner. Everybody has their role within this particular industry, the industry of accounting as the whole. But enrolled agents in particular is a federal license, as you heard before. It is a portable license that doesn't matter what state you are, doesn't matter what territory. We actually have enrolled agents in India. We have enrolled agents in Tokyo. We have enrolled agents in Israel. We have enrolled agents all across the world, and they don't have to worry about state-specific licensing like a CPA or an attorney would. I'm sure Catherine and Jack will add a little bit more into some of the things that I likely missed. But what I'd like to do is I would love to hear first from Catherine about what your view is on preparation services, how an enrolled agent goes about doing preparation, and what our responsibilities to our clients are.
Okay, well, thank you, Aaron, and thank you for inviting us to speak today. And it's a pleasure, really it is, to be here. I love continuing learning, and I appreciate encouraging people to get involved in this industry. Just a quick note, I haven't always been an enrolled agent. I have a master's and a bachelor's, but I've only been an enrolled agent for 14 years. So that's a credential that I decided later on in life to get, but I'm glad I did. But as far as preparation is concerned, I've been preparing tax returns since 1982. So for really a very long time. Actually started in high school. I know Aaron has the similar background, started very young, and then worked through college and started working for the IRS. But I've always had a love for preparing tax returns, and our firm does about 1,600 tax returns, mainly personal income tax returns, but many small businesses, sole proprietorships, rental properties, partnerships, corporations, all of them, payroll, we do all the returns. But as far as to your question, I think that being an enrolled agent has benefited my practice. I have my own practice, in that if there is a concern with the Internal Revenue Service, enrolled agents are recognized, as Aaron said, to speak on behalf of their client. And a lot of clients get nervous. A lot of taxpayers get nervous when they're dealing with the Internal Revenue Service. And there's really no need to, but they prefer to have a professional who knows the tax laws and knows how to deal with the Internal Revenue Service speaking on their behalf. And so the credential that I got later on in life, the enrolled agent, was mainly for that reason. But I will tell you, I'm very happy that Rio Salado has this program for you guys. I was looking over the different classes that you guys are required to take. And all of those are extremely helpful for running your own business or for working for somebody else. And that's another thing. It's a rather competitive industry. And so being an enrolled agent, having a credential, is definitely a feather in your cap and will put you ahead of even somebody who has a bachelor's degree in accounting, for that matter. So anyway, I think that answered your question, hopefully.
Yeah, in terms of tax preparation, tell us a little bit about what you get out of it. What besides for a decent pay,
Right.
tell us about how is it fulfilling to you as a field?
Okay, well, and that's a very good question, because you have to be, in my opinion, you need to be a people person. Even though we're bean counters at heart, we still need to be able to help people. And you need to have a heart to listen to people and to help them sort out their concerns, their needs. And so for me, it is extremely fulfilling. And the reason why I've done it for over 30 years, prepare tax returns, is because I feel like I'm helping somebody. And if I can make the process a little bit easier, throw in a few jokes, just bring some levity to kind of a drudgery. That's a blessing. That's a good thing. And so I like it. This is a good profession for those of you that have a heart for people and want to help them, because that is where your reward will be.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of when some clients come in to see me, they're like, "Oh, it's like coming to the dentist." Like, I don't want people to feel like that when they come see me at all.
No.
Can you give me an example, or is there something that you can think of where by doing somebody's tax return or giving them tax advice, you were able to really affect their life?
Well, one of there's two areas. The first area is people that are entrepreneurs and just starting out. And I really feel like it's my duty to help them get started in their business on the right foot. And so really feel like covering as much of the what would be the word for it, the requirements of starting a new business with people, and just encouraging them to get started out on the right foot has been very rewarding. And it's good to see businesses that I helped, was there at the beginning, see them flourish and do well. The other thing is that we have a unique position in this industry, that we're working with life events. And so we have marriages, we have babies, we have divorces, but we also have deaths. And one of the things that I really have found over these past, maybe 15 years since I've lost my own father, is just being able to help widows and widowers deal with major hard stuff. And I never charge them. And it's just an honor that I have to be able to assist them. And most of the time it's not really hard, but they're just so upset and so emotional that they just need us to hold their hand and maybe cry with them or listen to them. But those are two areas.
Yeah, it is really emotional at times, and I'll relay, something that happened just in the past year, because every year there's some, could be every day sometimes. I had an old classmate of mine, somebody I went to high school with. So for those of you on here that may have grown up around here, I'm an alumni of Marcos Deniza High School. The high school's a whole mile away from where my office is. And I had an old classmate who reached out to me and needed some help. And she was recently divorced and had 3 kids and was having a really tough time with it. And I said, come on in. And I was able to do her tax return. And she actually qualified for something called the Earned Income Credit, which is a really large tax credit that's available to folks who are part of what I might call the working poor population. And she was able to walk out knowing that she was going to get an $8,000 check from the IRS. Completely legitimate ways. Everything I do is incredibly ethical. I'm very careful on any earned income credit stuff that we do. But she cried and she gave me a big old hug, and she was very, very emotional, because what that meant months of rent. That meant her not having to go to her abusive ex-husband, or I forget if that time that money may have gone to pay the attorney so he could become an ex-husband. Right. So the tax preparation piece of it is not just putting numbers on a piece of paper.
Not at all. That's the easy part.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I'm so thankful for the students and potential students that are thinking about going down this road. We in this profession need decent peers that have a heart for people, have a heart for the law, have a heart for ethics. And so I just encourage everybody, keep it up.
Before we move over to Jack to talk a little bit about collections work, which is also another really sort of emotional issue that we help people with. It's a psychological issue. Collections is a really big thing. That's more than just putting numbers on a piece of paper. Somebody asked, Aaron mentioned enrolled agents are not tax preparers, but they are able to help clients with tax preparation. So the answer is, and thank you for saying this, because I meant to say it earlier, in the state of Arizona and in most states in the union, there is no licensure whatsoever required to prepare tax returns. It is the only financial practice that has no licensing requirement. If you want to do mortgages, you want to do financial advising, if you want to do, look, if you want to cut hair, you have to have a license. But for some reason, tax preparation has never really been regulated in the state of Arizona, as well as many other states. Now, California, there's regulation. Oregon, there's regulation. New York, there's some regulation as well. But in Arizona, there's not. We are an anti-regulation state on the whole. So no, any one of you who's on here could go, and that's what Lance is going to talk about in your last session. How do you get into the industry? Any one of you who are on here can go get trained at a retail tax preparation firm and prepare taxes for somebody and get paid. The enrolled agent certification or enrolled agent licensure is the next step up from that, because it's not just preparation. It's also collection and representation. So Jack, we're going to move on to the collection aspect. We've talked about enrolled agents do tax preparation. Enrolled agents also represent taxpayers before the IRS in relation to collection activities. So Jack, can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Sure. Is my mic on? Yes, I think so, right?
You're fantastic.
Okay, great. So I'll just go back for a moment. Dr. Davidoff mentioned that I worked for the IRS for 14 years. And I did that when I got out of college. I had taken the civil service exam because I was a political science major and a Russian minor, and thought I would go to work for the State Department or something. But there were no job offers from them. And one of the job offers I got was working for the IRS as a tax auditor. and specifically an office auditor, who is an auditor who works in an IRS office. Letters are sent out to taxpayers whose returns are subject to scrutiny, and they come in, and I would meet with the taxpayer. I would explain what the audit was about, what we were going to be looking at. I would ask them some questions. I would ask if they had any documents. They would give me the documents. I'd make some notes. I'd look at the applicable tax law, and then I'd explain if there was any change that needed to be made. And people would say, okay, thank you, or not, and they would leave, and that would be it. So it was interesting because I had never taken an accounting course or a tax course in college. And the IRS gave me a lot of training on the job and in classrooms when I started, to give me a working knowledge of the Internal Revenue Code and how it related to individual taxpayers. And that was really good training. And the people in the class that I was in, I think one person was an accounting major, and there were like 39 liberal arts majors, and I couldn't figure out why. And then a few years later, when I was working for the IRS, I found out that the IRS, for these jobs where you meet with a lot of people, individuals, the IRS wasn't looking for professionally trained accountants. They were looking for people with liberal arts backgrounds, because they found that the liberal arts people could actually sit there and interact with people and talk to them, listen to them, communicate well with them, and then explain what changes had to be made on their tax returns. So it was interesting. And I guess probably one of the things I wanted to talk about today is the importance of listening to your clients when they come in, when you're an enrolled agent. And as Aaron mentioned, I do a lot of what they call collections work. In the IRS, we have folks like Catherine who do mostly preparation of tax returns, and Aaron does preparation, plus he also does some audit representation. And I do audit representation too, but there aren't a lot of audits going on. But there's always a lot of people who owe money to the IRS, either people who have filed tax returns and they weren't able to pay, and they can't get into an installment agreement with the IRS. And so year after year, they owe money, and the bill just mounts and mounts. And so, my area of expertise is really collections now, and it's kind of interesting. And it is a very emotional area, because a lot of times people come to see me, and for a number of years I had an ad in the Yellow Pages saying that I was a specialist in non-filers and non-payers and people who had payroll tax problems. And sometimes people come to me from ads like that. In many cases, they're referred by other enrolled agents or CPAs or attorneys. And they come into my office, and this problem may have been building for 10 years or longer. And they sit down, and I tell them, tell me what happened. And so then I get 15 or 20 minutes of life history, all those things, early marriages, unplanned pregnancies, divorces, deaths, losing jobs, starting businesses, the business is not working out. And all of these things can have an effect on a person's ability to either focus and file a tax return, or if the returns are filed, they just can't pay the tax for whatever reason. And it's especially true with self-employed people who don't have taxes withheld for them and paid over. Self-employed people are responsible to pretty much file their own taxes through estimated taxes. And a lot of them, when they're wrapped up in running a business, they just feel there's no money left over for the IRS. Bad plan, but it happens. So a lot of times people come to me, and if they haven't filed for 10 years, we have to go ahead and figure out we've got to file a number of those returns. The IRS Internal Revenue Manual, instructs its employees to look for the last 6 returns if there's more than that are not filed. But even filing the last 6 presents a lot of problems, because that's a lot of information over a lot of time, and people often don't have very good records going back that far. But if we get those returns filed, the people owe the income tax, which might be, say, I don't know, $30,000, but then they're going to owe penalties also of another $15,000 plus interest. So they're facing a $60,000 debt. And if it's a situation where, you know, they aren't doing well in the economy right now, they might be working someplace and making $15 an hour, they might have enough to support themselves, but that's about it. And so we have to look at different options. You know, perhaps an installment agreement to pay the IRS so much a month for 6 years. That's a big commitment. Some people, if they really owe a lot of money, they might qualify for something called an offer in compromise, where we can submit a request to the IRS that the IRS accept less than the amount that's owed. And we can show, using the IRS's formula, that the most that the IRS would be able to collect from this client over the 10 years that they have to collect, the statute of limitations, might be, say, $20,000, and the person owes $300,000. And if you can document it well enough and you can put forward a persuasive enough argument, the IRS might accept that. Now, the client usually has to pay that $20,000 within a short period of time, 5 months. But, you know, in those cases, I talk to the people and say, you got to talk to family, borrow from family, because most of these folks don't have money hanging around to pay that $20,000. So I feel that I can make changes in a person's life. I can help them get that fresh start that they need to get that huge debt behind them. If the IRS accepts the offer and if they pay it, the person has to be in compliance for 5 years. They have to file their returns on time and pay their taxes when due. So I don't tell them they have to be in compliance. I tell them they're going to be on tax probation, and they sort of get the idea there. But you know, I've had hundreds of clients here in Prescott, little old Prescott, Arizona. It seems like it's a tax haven for the tax challenged. I'm not sure, but I've been able to help a lot of people, and I really feel good about that. And when I first went, and I was thinking about this the other day when I was sending something to Janine, when I first went to work for the IRS, it was in February of 1971. So I think that right now I've got 50 years behind me. Oh, one of the other things too is that because I went to work for the IRS and I worked there for 14 years, when I left, I was able to become an enrolled agent by applying to the service to become an enrolled agent. Didn't have to take the exam. And I tell people who are studying to be EAs that most people at the IRS couldn't pass that exam, because most people at the IRS have very narrow training in a particular function, either audit or taxpayer service or collections. But when you're an EA, you're really responsible to know quite a bit about all of these areas. So somebody who can pass the EA exam and who can become an EA, if they're willing to continue to learn while they're doing the job, they can have a very, very good base of knowledge to go in and help people with almost any type of problem. And so I deal with revenue officers. Those are collectors for the IRS. I deal with IRS appeals, because some of these collection cases can be appealed for a third party to take a look at and help with resolving the issue. So I think, as Aaron said, it's really not a micro credential. It's really a very, very valid credential in the world of professional tax concerns.
Jack, I just have one question that I kind of want to get your perspective on, because you've been on both sides of the desk, and you know, I know where this is probably going to go. Otherwise, I wouldn't ask the question. But you've been on both sides of the desk. Does a taxpayer or an enrolled agent really have a reason to fear the IRS? Are they really as scary as people think they are?
It all depends on the particular individual. You know, and the two areas that you would have the most concern is if you had a tax return of yours that was being audited, because the IRS will pay a lot of scrutiny to that tax return. And then the other area is the collection area. You know, when I was an auditor for the IRS, I could review somebody's tax return and make decisions about what items were going to be allowed and what were not going to be allowed, and tell them, okay, you're going to owe $3,753 in additional tax. And people would say, well, you know, I don't have that. What should I do? I'd tell them, wait for the bill and then just call somebody from the collection division. And people in the collection division are sometimes pretty understanding, but sometimes they're pretty difficult to deal with too. And one of the issues is whether you've had a good track record in terms of compliance. So, you know, that's true for both exam and collection, really. You know, if you're going in for an audit of your tax return and you were audited 6 times in the last 10 years, IRS knows that. And so they're going to pay a little more particular attention to what they're doing with your return. And with the collection side of things, you know, sometimes a person will file their return and they owe $37,000 for 2019. They send it in without a check. And then eventually they get notices and somebody from the IRS calls them and they say, well, I don't have the 37,000. And they say, well, apparently you didn't have the other 256,000 for the last 7 years either. So that person is going to be given I think a sterner approach might be a fair way to say it. But then again, you know, individual personalities vary so much among the people doing these two jobs, audit and collection, that it's really hard to generalize. But you know, both of these are serious issues, and people should face the prospect of an audit or a meeting with a collection agent with some degree of trepidation. And quite frankly, I think that they're wise to hire somebody like an enrolled agent, especially one who has experience in representation, to help them through the process.
So you kind of teed it up for me. So I'll talk a little bit about the representation aspect. Again, enrolled agents do CPR on people's taxes, collection, preparation, and representation. And what does it mean when we say representation? Now, collection is representation as well. We just love the acronym CPR. It makes people remember things. So when I'm saying representation, what I'm really talking about is exam representation or audit representation. Also, sometimes it's called compliance. So this is what happens after a person files their tax return. So somebody files a tax return a year, so maybe 18 months later, maybe 2 years later, they get a notice from the Internal Revenue Service that says you are being, this tax return or items on this return are being examined. And there are generally about 3 different kinds of audits. The most common is what's called a correspondence audit, where the IRS matches something on somebody's tax return. And maybe I say you got this W-2 and this 1099, and you put those 2 on the return. And the IRS said you got this W-2 and that W-2 and this 1099 and that 1099. What happened? Why are things missing? So then you respond back to them in writing. So very important to have good, clear technical writing skills to be part of this if you're going to do audit representation, because you have to be able to explain what happened. So you'll have collection, you'll have correspondence exams. Sometimes you'll have what are called desk exams, where you just have to, the IRS is only examining for one particular thing. For example, I've gotten a letter that says, the only thing we're looking at on this tax return is the charitable contributions. Just send us the charitable contributions information. So you do that, you send it, somebody sits at a desk, says $10, $20, $30, $40, good, and off it goes. And then there's what we call, in very lovingly, the audit from hell, which is a field examination. And that's where an auditor actually leaves their office and goes to, comes to you, schedules an appointment, and you actually go through everything together. And usually it's soup to nuts audit of the return, every item of income and every item of expense. It's not super common for regular individual income tax returns, but any return that has a business activity attached to it, could be a rental property, could be a small Schedule C business, could be a large S corporation or a partnership. Those tend to attract field examinations. And how do these returns get chosen? Well, in the first case of the correspondence exam, it's usually simply that somebody sent in a 1099 or a W-2 or something else that didn't show up on your tax return. The IRS matches those items. In a field exam, they may be looking at a variety of factors. For example, they may be looking at something we call hobby loss issues. That's where maybe this really isn't a business. Maybe this is a hobby because it's never made money. And there's items of personal enjoyment, or maybe it's part of horse breeding or dog breeding or things like that. It could be because, according to their statistics, they're looking at this expense category in comparison to everybody else in the same category, and your number is 5 times the national average. So they're examining those things. And there's also audits that are what's called research audits, or NRP, National Research Product Audits. And these large audits are also soup to nuts audits. They're looking at everything, and they use this data to determine other audit priorities that they will use over the next few years throughout the industry. So audit representation can be really broad. It can be something very, very simple. I have one on my desk right now that is simply a matching audit. And it can be we need to test every single thing that's on the return because we're going to use that data to make decisions about auditing in general in the future. And audit representation really is the first thing. It's about protecting the taxpayer's rights. That's our job. We are the Superman. We open up our shirt with our big EA on it. I actually have a graphic that's like that because it's our job to take the bullets for the client. These questions that an auditor is going to ask a taxpayer, it's invasive, it's accusatory. It is you are guilty before you're innocent. If you put a taxpayer in that situation, they're going to recoil. They're going to be nervous. They're going to say things that they aren't supposed to say. So it's our job as taxpayer representatives to shield them because we're experienced. We'll take that bullet. I'll step in front of that bullet, no problem. Okay, because I can always answer, I don't know the answer to your question. Let me find out. I'm not going to be personally insulted. I'll give you an example. I had 2 attorneys that I was representing. They had a special needs child. Very sensitive topic. Hyper-violent special needs child. They spent inordinate amounts of money trying to get educational programs to get this child to be functional in society. So when you're in that situation, these special educational programs actually become medical deductions. And that's how they claim them on their return. They claim this medical deduction. Well, when the state of Arizona, actually, that was the IRS. When the IRS came calling and said, oh my goodness, you're a family of 3 and you spent $50,000 on medical, you need to tell us what's going on. And they couldn't back up all of their deductions. They were incredibly hurt. They wanted to fight everything. And they needed me as a disinterested third party to say to them, hey, you need to just chill out a little bit. They're going after something they see statistically different on your return. They're not saying that you're cheating. They're not saying that you're a criminal. They just need some answers, very, very simply. So we can be that calming influence as well for the client and make sure that they understand through the process. And you know what? Sometimes the client is guilty as hell. Absolutely. I had that last year. I had a referral from an attorney. The guy flat out said, I'm not going to put together any of this information. My job was simply to try to minimize his penalties, and that's what I was able to do. That's it. So that's just a little bit of information on what representing a taxpayer in an audit, exam, compliance, whatever you might want to call it, might look like. Catherine, Jack, do you guys have anything else that you would like to add to what we've been talking about? And then I want to go into some of these questions here.
I do, just real quick. I think back about when I was preparing to take the special enrollment exam. And at that time, I was encouraged by a member of the State Society of Enrolled Agents to take the classes that were available through the NAEA, Arizona SEA. I don't know if those classes are available anymore. So what you guys are doing in this class is just that, getting ready, and then of course the GLIME series. But what I'm going to tell you is important, and that is take the exams, take the prior exams, take the exams over and over, the old exams over and over and over again, because I'll tell you, the questions are asked in a bizarre way sometimes, and they'll catch you off guard if you go in and unprepared as to what the exam is going to ask. You might think you know everything. I thought I knew everything, and boy, I'm so glad I took the prep. So that's my main thing.
Yeah, so that's a great lead into next week's class, or the
Yeah.
next week's program with GLIME, because they're going to talk about the exam preparation process and where to get this test bank, these test banks, and how to go about looking at the at taking the exam. So Ruth did have a question. What is the work-life balance being an enrolled agent? I think that there was somebody else who had asked, how does this work fit into having another job as well? These are both really great questions. And to Ruth and anonymous attendee, we have colleagues throughout this industry that have all sorts of different types of practices. My practice is a year-round practice. My practice is about half tax work and half accounting work. Jack's practice is primarily representation, which can happen all year round. Catherine's primarily is tax preparation, which could be. We have some colleagues that literally work from like the middle of January until April 15th, and then they're off fishing for for a while. And some of them come back around the extended due dates around August and work through August to October. Some people start out in this industry as they're just starting out, and they go to a retail preparation company where they only work weekends. Maybe they pick up a 4-hour shift on a Saturday and a 4-hour shift on a Sunday, and they start that way. So there's all sorts of different ways to approach entering the industry and running things how you want to. There's a lot of practitioners, to be honest, like me, who run. I have a firm, so I have employees, but there's a lot of folks who they're only solo practitioners, and they can't take on a year-round employee, but they can take on somebody just for tax season or just for 20 hours a week or something like that. So in terms of a work-life balance, you can figure this industry fits all sorts of work-life balances. Jack, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, you mentioned that mine is mostly representation in the collection area, which is true, but I also do about 150 returns a year too. I feel like doing returns keeps me sharp for other issues in terms of either audit, on the chance that I have an audit issue that comes up, or even in the collection area as well. But work-life balance, I'll tell you, you could put in a lot of time doing this stuff. You could really do that, because, and it's been more difficult in the past year because of the pandemic, because I haven't been out of the office much during that time. taking time off because of the pandemic. I've been busy at the office, but it's more difficult to get things done at the IRS because the IRS has been hugely impacted by the pandemic because they have people working in these large service centers or campuses in Ogden and Fresno and Austin, where they might have 7,000 employees working there. And those have just become COVID hotspots. So they've had to pretty much close those down. And so some people can work from home, but not a lot of IRS people can work from home. So if what I do, if it requires me to send in a submission to Memphis Service Center, it might get opened in the mailroom, but nobody might work on it for like 6 months. So it's kind of dragging things out. And it's been a challenge, certainly. Yeah. But I think the ideal thing would be to, if you want to focus on representation, then probably do that with minimal tax return preparation, because filing season with representation, especially in a single person firm like mine, can become insane.
Yeah.
Because even though it's January through April 15th, if you're also doing representation on collection cases, the collectors at the IRS don't care that it's filing season. They want their information in 20 days or 10 days. So it's difficult to sort of stop doing returns for 3 days and just focus on getting the information for a collection case.
Yeah, so there's, yeah, very, very true. You can shape the career around your schedule, because you don't have to take cases, but some cases do drag on for a really, really long time. One question, there was a question about the exam, how long, what is the cost? We're going to talk about that next week with Gleim, just so that you know that. Do you need any particular background to be an enrolled agent? No, you really don't. You do have to be considered to be an ethical person, and you can't have any trust-related crimes on your record. You have to pass the exam. You have to apply for enrollment. You have to do the background check, which includes getting your fingerprinted. You have to be over the age of 18. You don't even have to have a social security number, believe it or not. That's how we have so many international enrolled agents. You don't have to have a tax ID number, okay? There's a function that you have to go through. There's other steps you have to do, but you don't actually have to be a US citizen. So there's definitely a lot of potential, because you don't have to have that college degree. You just have to pass the exam and go through the other stuff. Stephanie mentioned you're a little bit later in your career, and so is Dawn. That's fine. I'll tell you, one of the greatest success stories that I remember in my career is we had a wonderful person who went through the National Tax Practice Institute and became a fellow at about the same time as I did. And I believe she was in her 70s, and she later went on to pass the tax court exam. And she took this special exam. This is like a super special thing that we're not even going to talk about here, but to go to even to the next level, which is to represent before the tax court. And in her late 70s, she was able to pass that exam. So it's never too late. There's always folks out there looking for qualified help. We're here because we're looking for qualified colleagues who can help to make our practice better. Dawn, to you specifically, the majority of the colleagues that I learned from when I was coming up, the enrolled agent career was a second career for all of them. They all came from somewhere else. A lot of engineers, actually, tons of engineers. For some reason, this career tends to attract former engineers. So no, it's not too late. It's definitely something that you can do. In my firm, we actually got somebody to pass the exam 2 years ago, who was retired in her late 50s. She had retired at 55, and she was 58, 59 years old, and she was bored and she wanted something to do. So we had her pass the exam, and she worked for me for 2 years. Didn't come back this year, unfortunately, but she got bored with that, and now she's on to something else. Anyway, I hope that that helped. We are right just after 5 o'clock here. So let me hand it back over to Lily and she can give any closing thoughts. And hopefully you guys enjoyed.
Well, guys, thank you so much. So as you see, our journey began this month to kind of traveling through the enrolled agent, and it is very interesting. You know, we looked in some corners and they're like, oh, it could be scary, I'm afraid. But apparently it's not. It's actually a lot of fun. So we really, really appreciate our panelists today, Jack, Kathleen, and Aaron. Thank you so much. For those that are attending, please put your email address in the Q&A. This constitutes as attendance, so you can win that possibility to earn a gift card. Dr. Akas is being very kind to us, and he is going to draw that, that gift card. But everybody else, thank you so much for your time. We'll stay on for a little bit to collect all the emails if you want to still participate in that drawing. Aaron, Kathleen, or Jack, do you have any last few words that you want to say? With that, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to conclude as soon as we can hear those final thoughts. And then I'll see you next week, same place, same time. And Glenn is going to go over the tips and some helpful information how to study for the exam. Kathleen, go ahead and say something for our students.
Look.
Thank you. Jack?
I think that if you pursue this, you'll find that it's going to be a rewarding, interesting career.
Thank you. And Aaron?
Agree entirely. If you like people, if you like problem solving, if you enjoy detail, if you enjoy being connected to people, oddly enough, this tax industry has a really bad reputation related to, you know, accountants are seen as boring or whatever. We're not. We're really caring, interested people, and this is a great way to be able to show that.
Thank you, Aaron. And Dr. Hawkins, did you want to say something at the end?
No, that just good luck with everybody. It's been a fantastic presentation, and this is a great career area. There's a lot of potential out there. I see it in the community because I work out there every day. So keep up the good work. Dr. Davidoff will provide you excellent programs, and we're here for you.
Yeah, so my email is in there. So lily.davidoff@riosalado.edu. Please email me. One question I don't think we addressed, and it's because I need to address it. It is about cost associated with our program at Rio Salado. You're going to have to pay for class, $15 registration fee per semester. And yes, books do cost money, but we actually got a really good educational discount through Glenn. So we'll talk more about it next week. I look forward to see you next Wednesday at the same time, same place. Thank you, guys. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.